This is my job at Dajian Transportation. This time, we're tasked with transferring a 300-ton transformer to Chongqing Soil and Water. We've been working and living in Chongqing for the past 10 days, equipped with several trucks for this mission. To make it easier for us to catch up, the trucks are split up before reaching the loading point. Also, to avoid wasting traffic resources, we use chains to secure the ramps, preventing the wing-like chambers from swinging back and forth. Even if the supervisory vehicle is empty, it must not be careless when the lead vehicle is about to turn and change lanes. The supervisory vehicle must control the bend in advance to hold down the rear vehicle. Chongqing has a very strong network, and even on my first visit, I learned it was nicknamed Yellow Ferrari. The transformers we're shipping this time originate from Hitachi Energy, known for having the world's best transformer design and manufacturing technology. Inside the factory, all kinds of facilities and equipment are neatly arranged, and each group of equipment is labeled with its identity information. Everything is meticulous, leaving us with an impression of utmost standardization. One area has transformers ready to ship. The one we're moving is the biggest. We're using a split-leaf press flatbed truck. Today's lunch is my favorite. It's complex to pick up the red Joe's Cool Book truck. After arriving at work at 17, technicians pick up the soft goods and head to the provisional residence. Tomorrow we'll start 10 days of intense work. I enjoy this teamwork. There's strength and blood. Just respect each other and you gain friendship. The other group assembles the bridge load carrier off-site. To better distribute weight, we connect the orange part in the middle to the transport sequence. First, we separate the loading tower from the plate. This paving iron supports the tower's force and needs various installation. Since all parts are heavy old iron, assembling them is physical and energy consuming. Set up the support points, prepare to lower the hydraulic plate, separate the tower platform and the plate from the base load, and then remove it. The hydraulic plate is ready to be added and the hydraulic plate module is assembled. To assemble the module, reposition the crane for lifting. The plate tires are now visible. The connecting mechanisms on both sides align precisely and are tightened with a small pin. If the alignment doesn't fit, there's a deviation, and we need to adjust the plate's position. Ningjin, the upper part of the connecting screws on the street, the leaf pressure piping is considered complete. Today's lunch is my favorite way of eating. A place that workers frequent for a long time needs to be convenient, affordable, and tasty. Physical laborers find it hard to resist the combination of super soft low meat and carbohydrate. Some low elbows, a slice of dried beans, and half an egg for 15 yuan is a great deal. Of course, there are also various small dishes to choose at your leisure. Please excuse us for being so generous with your time. Here we go. They're not hooligans, just wet from sweat or rain. They briefly take off their clothes to refresh. To start the transformer, we use a jackhammer to lift it, adding sleepers until it's level with the hydraulic plate, lifting it into position, picking up the sleepers and piping, and letting the plate enter the set position for movement. Due to narrow factory roads, we use 4 heavy cracking liquid to load and move the transformer outside, then Joe's beam for long-distance transport. After precise adjustments, the plate aligns with the transformer. We start laying rails. This time, site constraints require lightweight steel rails, easy to carry and assemble. Due to the large sliding coefficient, rubber mats are used for rail splicing and locking. First, guide the rail to the transformer's base and adjust its position. The locking key is subsequently employed to secure the rail joints. During the installation of the locking key, it is crucial to apply a sufficient amount of grease to the rails. This ensures that the gun can be easily unscrewed and allows for the continuation of the manual locking nut process. Transformer starts moving. We're continuing to use this type of jacking device, which is still in operation. This component is hydraulically charged to the rail, and the hydraulic actuator pushes the rail to its full travel. Once this part is released, the rail starts to retract and repeats the process until it reaches its intended position. However, today we encountered a minor issue. As you can observe from the wear and tear on the orange paint, this jacking device is quite old. Fortunately, the technician managed to troubleshoot it and keep it functioning. I'm anticipating that next time, the leader will swipe the strip and then, hopefully we'll have a new jacking. This area is filled with transformers, and this generation will likely be able to afford purchasing half a dozen of them. It's probable that we'll be able to afford half a plant to relocate the transformer. But outside the plant, Joe's beams will be assembled by transport trucks. These trucks will switch from empty to transport mode. Tie rods will need to be installed so that the ramps can form a fixed frame. Once the transformer is in place, we'll again inspect the impulse gauges on top of the transformer. These are the factory's instruments for monitoring the transformer's impulse coefficient. Blessings are relative. After finishing work and resting, a fresh breeze brings happiness. Off-site, Chao Shiliang assembles the last tie rod and opens the store for senior driver Yan Ji, who chose it as the workers' canteen. Next visit to Chongqing. The difference between Chongqing and Sichuan cuisine isn't huge, but you can still notice it. Chefs who enjoy a few drinks love lo mein. Even if it's not in the store, they'll search the alleys. Brother Jun, a food supervisor, tastes the lo meat to check if it's cooked for his team. After a long day, chefs will be refreshed for tomorrow with this drink. The transformer completes its final tasks after the meal. We move the transformer to its designated spot at the assembly plant. We position the transformers at their preloading sites. Selected operators can't drink, and transformers meet strict securing standard before leaving. The secure points are iron chains resembling spider webs. The switch point was just outside Hitachi Energy's fence, but site limits required transferring the transformer with a short pallet to an off-site location, then switching to a long pallet. Even though safety bins had been set up well in advance, they didn't prevent us from pausing for transportation. We've already set up the sleepers ahead of time and parked the transformer at the designated spot, waiting for tomorrow's shifting and loading operations. Today, we'll employ the same method to move the transformer back onto the sleepers in a reverse direction. After shifting, we'll dismantle the 4 columns of hydraulic panels and prepare for assembling the 4 columns of Joe's beams, which should be disassembled and transported to the destination ahead of time. Once assembled, we will wait for the fleet to arrive at the plant to continue loading the transformers and move them to the receiving. After the drawbar connection assembly is complete, the air hose is connected to synchronize the braking system of the drawbar with that of the hydraulic truck. Tang Yong, the hydraulic plate operator, is already seated at his workstation, which is my favorite convertible throne. The front and rear rake beams enter the assembly position with precision. Any slight deviation in their position could directly lead to challenges in completing the assembly of the staple food later on. After the meal, we continued to assemble the trucks. One end of the main food was assembled, the other end of the slanting food was inserted into the position, and the 2 ends were put into the position and locked by the pins, thus framing the equipment. The last step in lifting the equipment was to set up the pads for each hard carrying point. Finish lifting the hydraulic plate. Lift up the transformer with the main beams on both sides. During the lifting process, we have to keep a close watch on the whole frame to prevent any problem due to sudden stress. After many attempts, we successfully lift up the transformer. After the transformer is off the ground, we pull out the sleeper and collect all the accompanying equipment. The convoy is about to depart. Everyone, get on board the truck immediately. Within 500 meters, we encountered a problem with a couple of trucks blocking the way to the road. Even though the safety bins had been installed earlier, they did not block the way to the truck. Even with the safety bins in place, they didn't stop us from stopping. We just needed to monitor the car owner's driving status and the passing car. The driver contacted the owner, saying he'd arrive in 10 minutes to move the car. This wait lasted from day to night. Finally, we used the trick I was eager to see. A forklift lifted the undercarriage, raised the tires, and moved the car safely without disrupting traffic. Today's journey was short. We aimed to avoid peak traffic, so we drove to the highway toll booth exit at night for easy highway access tomorrow. The biggest challenge was the intersection. The owner came from the right to turn into the upper junction. The bend was too tight, so we went straight left to adjust the angle and reverse into the lower junction. The rear pushers were unloaded, and the turn was adjusted manually by the tire angle. Both positions reached their limits simultaneously. After many attempts, the hydraulic plate and side beams were perfectly positioned and passed through obstacles. The team was set to face the predefined road. We're advancing at the plant gate. It's quite a lengthy journey from Shoebridge Toll Station to Shuitu Toll Station on the highway, yet it's merely 34 kilometers and half a day to reach the highway. Before entering the highway, we conducted the usual checks of each vehicle's documents and formalities, and the toll booths had their guardrails removed. Fortunately, this time, there were sufficient curves at the gate, so we didn't need to worry about going against the traffic flow to access the highway. Once on the highway, law enforcement departments manage the traffic, so we only need to focus on the driving status of the car owners and the traffic flow. Everything is made incredibly silky smooth. To reduce the load on the bridge when crossing over the girders, large construction trucks and other big vehicles are not allowed on the bridge at the same time, and traffic is diverted off the bridge to honor the name of Chongqing's mountain city. We crossed 27 bridges and 3 tunnels in just 37 kilometers. As we drove towards the gate, we could already see the Huaneng fuel and power plant far off in the distance, marking our destination. When we went against the highway from the Shuitu toll station, the left side of the highway had long ago removed the guardrail, allowing us to pass by sticking to the side of the road. If we couldn't get through, the team estimated that we might have to run all night. After exiting the station, we switched to a downstream route. Many thanks to our friends in Chongqing for their cooperation. We continued on to the power plant. On the 4th day, after many tedious maneuvers, we finally arrived at the Huaneng Chongqing Liangjiang fuel generating plant project, which boasts an annual generating capacity of about 1,660,000,000 kilowatt-hours, 150 million kilometers. We are at the factory gate. We arranged the dismantling and replacement area to carry out the reverse process of moving the transformer back onto the 4-center Liet duct flatbed truck equipment to the plant. It was a repeated task, and the rain began again and again. We found ourselves getting drenched every day, then drying our clothes with body heat and continuing to face the drought-like conditions. Describing the weather's celebration was challenging. I noticed that each time the equipment arrived at the site, it was met with warm greetings from the owner's family. I was finally able to ease their hearts due to the equipment's safe arrival, like a significant relief. This marked the last bend on this mission's road, and it was my first chance to see many people. This final turn needed to be executed beautifully and crisply to maintain our dignity in front of the owner. At the unloading point, steel plates began to be laid, and sleepers were placed along the entire path to push the transformer from the plate to the designated transformer base. These heavy sleepers transformed the construction site into a natural fitness center. I believe it's one of the best appearances a man can have. I'm weary of those who promote men as beautiful. Pillows were laid. When the rain stops, the steel plates are added and the preparations are completed. I'm not sure I can do that. After returning to the hotel, the company held an emergency meeting to assess if the unloading site, after days of rain, was still suitable for moving. 4. A ratchet. After much deliberation, it was decided to wait for the rain to stop before reassessing the situation and proceeding with decommissioning. Meanwhile, I received a new assignment to leave Chongqing early and head to Qinghai Kermu to join another crew. This time, the destination was Wuji. As I started my new journey, my colleague in Chongqing reported that the transformer had landed intact.